So, I'm in Tennessee. I was just in Virginia, and I have a wild hair to go to Arkansas, which is not on the East Coast. Um, I mean, you know that, but the reason I say that is I left Utah to travel the East Coast and kind of decide where I wanted to live. And my intent was to, read, learn some things that I've been interested in, and spend time around people, get to know the East Coast again, and see how much may have changed in a decade or more since I've been gone. 2 decades. Yeah, 2 decades. I think I left in 2004, and I'm recording this in the end of 2023. So it's been 2 decades since I spent significant time on the East Coast, and I just wanted to travel around and see what may have changed and would I like to live somewhere around here. So the intent was to take a self-paid sabbatical of sorts and just learn and share my heart with people. Um, Plans are changing, and I think I'm gonna need to spend more than just a few weeks in an area, kind of plant myself, and I don't know. Either I'll find some work, or I'll be able to share my heart full time, but we will see. And for some reason, I'm drawn to Arkansas for New Year's, and we'll just see what happens there. There's no big plan. So I was driving through the night, and took a few breaks here and there, but the sun popped up, and I don't know that I've hit Nashville yet, but um, just having a good time stopping and taking a look at the scenery, enjoying some sunlight. I miss sunrises. I don't know where I've been. Maybe it's just been overcast for that long that I feel like I've not seen something like this in a real long time, but it's beautiful. Anyhow, I thought I would tell you what it means to me to do something for my heart. Um, what I'm about to say might be um, not triggering, but unpopular for both sides of the particular table that I'm about to reveal. So, most of you know me from church or something religiously oriented, and some of you know me from things that are not associated with religion. And I love both, and that's actually what's going to be unpopular. I think it was in 2020 that I realized I had left the church. So in 2018, I had a concussion. Um, the weather people didn't even know it was coming, but we woke up and there was a inch and a half, 2 inches of ice on the ground. I was going to Weber State at the time, college, and I fell on ice. Luckily, I was with friends, and they said, I opened my eyes and they were all around me, like in a movie, like they're looking down on me. And I tried to get up, and they said, don't move. And I'm like, why? And they said, you hit your head. And I said, no, I didn't. And they said, we heard it. I was like, oh. But they asked me about my vision. My vision was sharper and colors were more saturated. So I thought, it's positive. So there's a vision change, but it's better, so I must be fine. But later that night, I started slurring my speech, and the day afterward, I started exchanging words and sentences that didn't make sense. But long story short, in the recovery time, it was just hard to be around groups of people. Um, I was drained. I had professors ask me if I had professors ask me if the lesson content was not engaging because I looked just checked out. And so it's just, people noticed things. But I stopped going to large church services because it was just too taxing. And 2 years later, I found myself in a place I'd never been before, and that is being very comfortable not going to church. I've spent so much of my life appreciating the break from regular life by going to church and learning about God and love, and it was beautiful. And learning that I loved to give and serve, I mean, that was beautiful too. That was as a teenager, and so I followed that up. I went to a Bible college and just spent my life trying to find places that I could share something that has been so good for me. And then to then later be very comfortable not being in that environment was a surprise when I realized it. And so I kind of said to God, okay, I'm going to leave the church, but I just want to see where you can be found. And those of you that are churched, God is everywhere. God is everywhere. I was at Bible college when I was pondering that verse, and I was wintertime, and I looked at a flower that just happened to be on the table, and I said, God is everywhere. And I stopped myself and I said, no. And I looked outside and I said, God is everywhere. And I stopped myself. I said, no. And I shook my hand in the air and I said, I'm hitting God right now because God is everywhere. Which, is worrisome at that point because, there were some unresolved things in my life that I had realized God had seen everything. But to be in that place where I'm comfortable no longer going to church and saying, okay, God, where will you be? I'm going to leave the church, and there are things that people from outside the church have told me are problematic, and I had all of the verbal judo to counter their one way is to say attack, and another way is to say rationale, and I had every prepared way to counter it and turn it inside out, and just for the sake of them coming to see the Lord the way I had. So now I've left, and I started looking for God in many, many places, and I found him everywhere. I found love everywhere. I found love outside of the church. And we should be okay saying if something is universally true, it will be found universally. So, that's unpopular for the Christian community. And so I studied some things. I was willing to continue studying for some things and decided against studying some other things. It's a great big long list, so I won't get into it on this. But suffice it to say, I'm not technically a part of what is loosely referred to as the love and light community. Those are the people that would say, in order to integrate yourself to positive things and to bring positive things into your life, you need all of your focus and attention to be on positive things and things that are of light and things that are of love. And I agree, but not to the extent that they do, because for them it is, I don't see negative things because I'm high vibrational. Things that make them uncomfortable, they refrain from being around, and likewise people that may be in a problematic state, they prefer not to sit with it if they cannot get you to change your outlook, because they have reasons. And I didn't spend much time entertaining that because I felt like it cut people out. I love giving still. I love serving still. And to to, as I thought through it, to admit to myself that committing to that meant cutting people out of my life, um, was uncomfortable. And so I sought a path that drew people together, um, which means if people are very dedicated to their religion of any kind, and I really mean any kind, I want to be okay with their pursuit. Um, so for me right now, it's not about convincing people to do what I'm doing, or to be like me, or to think like me. I love the conversation, of course. I love any kind of discussion in that arena, but whatever they would rather pursue, I'm okay with that. Um, and that's not what is problematic for that group. That's not what's going to be unpopular with them. What's going to be unpopular is the fact that I will absolutely say that I have no anger towards the church that I grew up with, um, the 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 type of church system that I grew up with or that I learned from. No problem with the Bible. No problem with God. Um, and that will be unpopular with some of them because a lot of them have left a kind of religion and would prefer to hear that I was on the same wavelength. But I don't know. Like, everything that has happened, everything that I've learned has prepared me for the next step. I mean, I learned to speak English properly at Bible school. um, I learned I identify with Asperger's, and I learned how to speak to many different kinds of people, um, through my religious studies and outreach. And that has become valuable in my life. I learned to study really deeply and have a really organized mind by studying theology. Um, the questions of, is the older rendering versus the popular rendering important? Like, all of that, all of those thought exercises has helped me to deal with other complexities in the world, other things to study and organize and say, does it to go together? Is this universal? Is there a nuance? And if a nuance is present, do we change our point of view? Like, these are all things that I find fascinating. I love to turn over my brain, and sometimes they have real choices that need to be made, and sometimes I find that it's merely preference, which is also fine. But I'm going too far in that direction. All I really wanted to say is, um, I got off of social media in 2012, and my reasons on one part was the terms and conditions that Facebook had put out at the time. Essentially, if I were to boil it down into the way that I understood it, it said you can have your privacy by not having Facebook. And the dare was, I don't think you can live without me. And I said, watch me. And I deleted Facebook. And the only thing I really missed at the time was the party invites, because people wouldn't reach out to me using my email or my cell phone to let me know about parties. Um, but that's the only thing I missed out on. And the second reason why I deleted it is I started to see a change. So this is 2012. I started to see a change in my perceptions. At the time, everyone was posting their unfiltered thoughts on what they thought about things, meaning that this was their gut reaction, and they had not thought things through, and it felt so raw that I was not sure whether the things I was thinking were my own thoughts or just rehashing what I saw as others' thoughts, and not even their reasoned thoughts. It was their gut reaction, which once you have time to sit with your thoughts, sometimes you allow yourself to change your mind. And I wasn't getting a lot of that. In addition to that, media had changed. So growing up in the 90s, I remember watching um, news broadcasts, and they would give different people's point of view, and it was not entirely clear what the presenter, what their opinion was. But in the 2012 time frame, that seemed to change, and you knew exactly what they thought, and it was either do you believe me or not, and which was a hard shift for me at that time frame. So I just deleted social media. In 2022, 2023, I may have started one back up, but it did not work out for me. Um, Being off social media for about 10 years, you lose skills. You lose skills at stopping yourself from being on social media, and boy, the scams I'm falling for. Like, I know better. I know better, but after, there's something about watching videos and seeing an associated ad, and you think, oh, of course they go together, but no, the ad is from a scammer, and my defenses were down for some reason. So I don't know how it's happening, but what I really want to do is kind of document my journey returning to social media, because I cannot be the only person that has left social media for a decade and for some reason wants to come back. I have a reason for wanting to come back, but begrudgingly. But that's man, I've talked about a lot of things here in the sunshine, and I have no makeup on, and I've been driving through the night, so who knows what I look like right now. I can't see the camera because I'm blinded by sunshine. Boy, these clouds are gorgeous. What do you guys see? No clouds. I'll turn it around here a second. But thank you for your kindness in advance. Feel free to put your unfiltered thoughts in the comments, because I love you dearly, and you are welcome to say whatever you want. I'm not gonna delete it. Let's do it. So on YouTube, I plan to document my journey of returning to social media. There's some funny things, like emails from Instagram that said we cannot verify your identity, so we're denying your account. And things like that. But I will let you know how this is going for me, how I learn to rebuild skills I should have learned over the last decade. And also on YouTube, I hope to start talking about some mindset things. I mean, there are things in humanity that we are universally on the same page on. We just don't think that we are. So I'd like to discuss that a little bit. There'll be snippets here on Facebook every once in a while, but I think largely I'd like to spend time on YouTube. Don't look for the page. I'm gonna change the name of the page, I'm pretty sure. But thanks for hanging out with me if you've listened to this whole thing. But I hope you're well. Do reach out to me. Boy, I need to slow down and actually respond to people's messages. But I'm looking forward to seeing where you're at. And if you're a new friend, good luck.